After such a great treat and relaxing for a bit, the time has come to finally talk about Splatoon 2. The first time I came across a Splatoon game in the wild, I was at a gaming expo. I saw people playing this colorful game on the Wii U, where they shoot paint everywhere, and my ignorant PlayStation loving ass thought, if it's not on the PlayStation, it's not for me. After the failure of the PS Vita, I came to the realization that all ports of gaming offer something unique, and I finally picked up my first non-Sony console in years. After about a year of owning my Switch, I managed to find a second-hand copy of Splatoon 2 on sale for cheap, and decided to give this game featured in so many Nintendo Switch commercials a try. I popped in the game and tried to get into my first match, and immediately got kicked out due to issues with my router's internet settings. After a tedious conversation with my internet provider, and finally achieving a NAT Type B connection, I could jump into my first turf war. Woo! I got obliterated, but immediately fell in love with this game. The gimmick behind it is unique enough to make it stand out from the average shooter game in the crowd, and fun enough to quickly push Splatoon 2 onto the list of my favorite shooter games, not just on the Switch, but in general. Other favorites may include, but are not limited to, the Borderlands series, the BioShock series, Left 4 Dead 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 Zombie Mode, Link's Crossbow Training, Splatoon 2, oh wait, Doom, Mario Sunshine, Fortnite, the Metro series, and Animal Crossing New Horizons.
What list is this?
The original Splatoon, released in May 2015, was a new IP developed and released by Nintendo for the Wii U, and its reception was positive. Unfortunately, the reception of the Wii U was not positive, and the game never managed to reach its full potential in terms of popularity. When it was time for Splatoon to come to the Switch, instead of just porting over the Wii U game, Nintendo gave this IP an extra splat of ink and released this beautiful sequel instead. The mechanics of Splatoon 2 are quite simple. It plays like most other shooters, but instead of using guns to shoot bullets, you use various weapons to splat one of two randomly selected colors of colorful ink around the level. In most modes, you are part of one of two teams, each containing 4 players. You can use the ink you and your teammates splattered everywhere to traverse the map faster, climb up walls or objects, replenish your ink, or hide from opponents. Unlike most other shooter games, the main goal of the match is never about eliminating opponents, and if a player is eliminated, they respawn after a short time. Splatting an opposing team member gives you an advantage by removing them from the game for a few seconds, giving you more time to focus on the task at hand without them interrupting you. In fact, most modes in Splatoon 2 favor splatting ink around the stage or capturing a location above eliminating opponents. In the most basic and most played mode, Turf War, the goal is to cover as much of the arena in your team's ink as opposed to how many kills you have. Even if an opposing team member manages to get 100 kills,
I know this is a ridiculous number, but it's just an if.
And your team manages to get no kills, but covers more ground with ink, your team will come out victorious. Covering the ground with ink, splatting opponents, and most notably winning, awards you with points used as currency, experience points, and levels up your gear. The game offers a lot of unique clothing, shoes, and headgear items to create your favorite look to wear when splatting around. Each item has unique abilities that can be unlocked by playing enough matches, and offers different stat boosts or abilities to give you the edge in matches. If you're not satisfied with your gear's abilities, you can scrub some of your abilities and acquire new ones, given that you have enough points to afford it. This prevents the game from having one set gear that is the most efficient and having everyone wear the same stuff. It allows you to create a look that is more suited to your style. There is a vast arsenal of weapons in this game, each offering their own playstyle and strategies. You start off with a small selection of weapons, and you can grow your collection by unlocking and purchasing new ones as you play through the game. Each weapon has their own highs and lows, meaning no one will truly have the upper hand the entire game. Each weapon offers its own unique playstyle advantages, with most guns shooting faster but not covering as much area, and rollers allowing you to cover more ground but not being as tactical in some combat situations. The weapon types you can acquire and use to ink the world range from your regular ink guns, to bigger Gatling guns, to snipers, to rollers, to brushes, to buckets, to umbrellas.
Yep.
Along with your weapon, there are also sub-weapons and special weapons grouped together. Sub-weapons are secondary weapons that can be used to turn the tides of combat situations, offer ways to escape, or gain certain advantages. Although powerful, they never feel overpowered, and there is always a way to counter or avoid the situation. Sub-weapons include different types of bombs, from the basic splat bomb, to the faster but weaker burst bomb, to the curling bomb that slides across the floor, to the auto bomb that walks towards nearby enemies before exploding. You also get items such as the point sensor that tags and tracks the movement of the enemy team and displays it to your team. The splash wall that makes a barrier to block enemies' movement and attacks. The squid beacon that allows teammates to super jump to its location. The sprinkler that continuously sprays ink around itself until destroyed, and a few others. Special weapons are more powerful weapons that can only be used after filling up your special gauge and can deliver devastating effects, such as Ultra Stamp that gives you a giant hammer that you can use to repeatedly bash opponents and the ground with ink. Inkjet that allows the user to hover in the air while firing powerful shots. Denter Missile that locks onto opponents before launching. Ink Storm that creates a cloud that rains ink as it moves across the stage and can be quite annoying to clean up. Ink Armor that gives you and your teammates some armor to protect you from 1 or 2 extra attacks. My favorite, Baller, that puts you in a bubble ball that offers some protection when running around, explodes when ended, and is fun to say. Splashdown that lets you jump into the air and splash down splatting ink around you, with higher jumps offering a wider splash range. Although offering huge advantages, special weapons never turn the tides of battle in a way where you feel like you're hopeless and can't still fight back. I've spent many entertaining hours of fun with its unique inking mechanics, quick gameplay, and colorful palette, and it is easy to see how this game has sold over 12 million copies by September 2021 and has become one of the best-selling games on the Switch. The game features weird upbeat music that completely blends in and helps create the overall feel of the game. The music ranges from more chilled to more energetic tunes and really sets the mood for battles. The only song that starts getting on my nerves a bit is the one that plays while waiting for a match. It would have been nice to have some more songs that would switch up from time to time. Inkopolis acts as a hub world to the game, where you can access everything available from shops for food, weapons and gear, to all the different game modes. Inkopolis is filled with many different characters. Some display the gear that they use, and others have messages or pictures posted by them. During events, posts can get interesting and creative, as the community all rave on about it. The different game modes lean heavily into online, and this creates the first point to consider when deciding to buy this game or not. If you have a Nintendo Switch Online subscription, and mostly play games at home or somewhere with an internet connection, this game is amazing, and will keep you entertained non-stop. If you don't have a Nintendo Switch Online subscription, or maybe play your Switch while traveling and don't always have a good internet connection, you might be left feeling underwhelmed by this game. Without an internet connection, you can play the single player mode called Hero Mode, which still offers some hours of fun and exciting gameplay. The story revolves around the great Zapfish being stolen, and you get recruited as Agent 4 to travel to the Octo Canyon and recover it. There isn't that much story or lore packed into the single player campaign, even when collecting sunken scrolls, but it offers you a fun experience trying to fight through level for level, facing off against bosses, and helps you improve your skills while familiarizing yourself with the different weapon types and tactics you can use in the game. The thing is that once you finish the campaign, there isn't much to go back to. You can play the levels again, but this time with your selected weapon, which drastically changes up how certain stages are played. But
Meh.
If you do get hooked and really want some extra single player fun, you can always buy the extra Octo expansion DLC for $20, which offers loads of new levels and story to discover. In the Octo expansion, You play as an Octoling that goes by the name Agent 8 that gets lost in the underground subway and has to find a way out. Through this story, you need to complete a range of fun little unique challenges, such as defeating bosses, killing enemies, reaching the end of a stage with a limited amount of ink, or pushing a ball around. The stages play very differently compared to the basic single-player campaign and really fleshes out the single-player experience. Some of the stages are easy enough to complete, while others can be brutally challenging. The challenging parts are scattered through the story and can sometimes get frustrating, but finally finishing the challenge can feel so much more rewarding when things finally start to go your way. If you want more single-player Splatoon, Octo expansion is a must-have that is worth its price and will offer you many more hours of Splatoon 2 fun. But then, having a fuller experience will already cost you $80. Which is not that nice, considering that you can get free Borderlands or free Bioshock games for way cheaper than that. I know these games offer a very different experience, but
I'm just saying.
If you do have a stable internet connection and a Nintendo Switch Online subscription, the game opens up so much more. You can partake in regular turf wars, Salmon Run, ranked battles, league battles, and since June 2019, maybe sometimes a Splatfest? Maybe? The game features a range of more compact stages as opposed to some of the more open stages of its predecessor to face off in. This makes the game feel much more tighter and never feels like you need to go searching for engagement. It also prevents camping, as it is much easier to find and counter opponents, giving more action-packed moments. The stages are all fun and creatively designed, and available stages rotate on a scheduled basis in order to keep things fresh. Turf Wars, as mentioned before, is the basic online mode where you play as 2 teams of 4 and need to splat as much ink as possible everywhere in order to ink the most turf for your team. And it in itself is fun as fuck.
Heck. It's fun as heck.
When you're ready for a tougher challenge and raise your rank high enough through Turf Wars, you can partake in ranked battles, which also consist of a 2 teams or 4-player structure, but require a bit more strategy than regular Turf Wars. Modes in ranked battle matches include Splat Zones, which require you to ink certain zones and keep control of it for a certain amount of time in order to win. Tower Control, where you need to take control of a tower running on a rail in order to ride it into your enemy's base. Rainmaker, where you need to acquire and transport a special weapon towards your enemy's base. And Clam Blitz, where you need to collect as many clams all around the stage and score by throwing the collected clams into your goal. Like Turf Wars, these stages rotate. Only 2 of these modes are available at any given moment, with available modes changing every 4 hours. Winning or losing these matches will positively or negatively affect your rank score, which is important when it comes to matchmaking and finding opponents on your level, making you want to keep your rank score as high as possible. If you're looking for an online co-op experience, then you can jump into league battles with 1 or 3 extra friends in order to form a pair or a team. League battles offer the same mode as ranked battles, but you don't have to worry about your rank going up or down, and instead you can have fun with your friends who also have a copy of the game. In this mode, stages rotate every 2 hours, and you and your partner needs to try and pile up as many points as possible to rank in the league power. This is a great way to spend some time with friends and face challenge after challenge together. If facing off against other players isn't your thing, or you need to take a break from regular matches, you can put on an overall and partake in the Salmon Run mode, when it's available. Salmon Run is one of my favorite modes in the game and offers a unique twist in the sense that instead of facing off against another team, you and your team have to face off against waves of AI salmonoids while collecting eggs and depositing them in the goal. This mode adds some more laid-back fun as they don't feel as intense as other online matches while still providing a good challenge. Environmental effects such as fog can change your ability to see around you or make things more difficult. The best part is that the number of enemies in this mode scales depending on how many team members are playing, so you don't have to worry about facing an impossible challenge if your teammates drop out of the game. The bad part about Salmon Run is that it's not always available and is available on an irregular basis. As Turf Wars is the most popular mode and the mode most players partake in, Salmon mode only being available at certain times kind of makes sense, as it gives more incentive for players to jump in for a few rounds when it is available, preventing this mode from being empty at times. If you really want to, You can play Salmon Run locally with another player who has the game on their Switch at any time, but then you require such a person or persons to be next to you with their Switch and the game as well. Splatfests are awesome. Were awesome? They were awesome, yeah. Splatfests were events that were held once a month and featured two choices based on common arguments such as ketchup versus mayo, chicken versus egg, and heroes versus villains. The themes were usually announced a few weeks before the event, and players had to choose which side to support during 24 hours of action-packed turf war battles to determine the winning choice. During this time, Inkopolis changes into a party and you can feel the determination of every player participating. This is a great way to bring the Splatoon community together for a day of splatting fun. There used to be a Splatfest every month that gave you a reason to keep coming back to the game. But in July 2019, the final Splatfest between Order and Chaos brought a close to the Splatfest fun. Or so we thought. Since then, a few Splatfests featuring rematches of older topics have popped up, but these happen very rarely, so don't count on actually running into more of them in the future. Matchmaking works great, and apart from a few times where a room couldn't fill up in time, or randomly getting kicked from a lobby, the matchmaking in this game is a delight. There have been a few times where we had to wait a few minutes for a room to fill up, but this happens very few times. The mentioned glitches, or rather problems, happen so irregularly that you might not even encounter them yourself. Once you're in a match, things run smooth, and the only time I've had problems was when my internet connection dropped. The game's performance is stunning. In lesser demanding and most non-combat situations, like chilling in the game's hub, the game runs at a smooth 1080p in docked mode. The most impressive part is how they got the game to run at a smooth 60 frames per second on the Switch. This is achieved by the game downscaling graphics in more demanding situations in order to favor frame rate. Although this happens, it is hardly even noticeable when you're in the action, and the game never goes beyond a point where it looks terrible. In all of my time playing Splatoon 2, I could not think of a single time that the game has stuttered, and when it comes to shooters, it is a very important aspect of gameplay. If I have to get really critical, a downside to the Splatoon 2 experience is that every time you launch the game, you have to listen to the announcers announcing all the current game modes and stages. It would be fine if you could skip it, but no, you have to sit through the entire conversation every single time. This doesn't make the game worse, but it does slow down the process when you quickly want to jump into a match or two. Another fork in the road when it comes to buying Splatoon 2 is the fact that Splatoon 3 has been announced and is slated for a 2022 release. The fact remains, but even now, you can still find a match in Splatoon on the Wii U. So even though Splatoon 3 is launching soon, you'll probably be able to still get your money's worth out of Splatoon 2 and probably still find matches for years to come. We are also not sure of the state Splatoon 3 will be in when it launches. Both Splatoon and Splatoon 2 have features that were only added later through updates. We also don't know how long it will take for most of the player base to migrate over to the new game. So considering everything that has been said, is Splatoon 2 still worth buying in 2022?
No. Wait, I mean yes. Wait, no. Wait, yes. Maybe?
If you're looking to get into this game competitively and mostly game in a spot with a good internet connection, and you have a Nintendo Switch Online account, then this game is a must-have that will offer hours of competitive splatting. Even with Splatoon 3 on the horizon, this will still be a good way to get in some practice and familiarize yourself with the gameplay before making the jump once the next one comes out. If the way that the original Splatoon community is still alive on the dead console is any indication how Splatoon 2 will do after the release of Splatoon 3, we should still be able to have years of fun with this game. If on the other hand, you're looking for an amazing single player experience or mostly game offline, then may I rather suggest Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Doom, or Terraria.
Wait.
Before I go, I forgot to mention, in the original Splatoon, there were 4 playable arcade games called Squid Jump, Squid Racer, Squid Ball, and Squid Beats. Squid Jump is unlocked from the start and the rest were locked behind Amiibo. In Splatoon 2, they only included one arcade game called Squid Beats 2, but this game is tons of fun on its own. The minigame is a rhythm game that you can play to different tracks that you have unlocked and gives a nice break to the rest of the splatting action.
Maybe it's worth the price after all.